A British court, guys, in London has officially sentenced a truck driver to prison because he was caught smuggling £7 million, which is $9.4 million worth of a substance, an illegal substance, which is basically coke, in a shipment of Skims.
There have been reports, that you and Kim don't really talk at the moment. She's distancing herself from you because of the stuff you've been saying must get in controversy. Is that true?
She's being influenced, but I guarantee you what's not finna happen, we not finna see her in one of them John Legend Christmas sweaters no time soon.
But do you talk to her? Are you still in touch with each other?
Wait a second, don't you think it's like funny to like make a joke out of stuff sometimes? Don't you think like God has a sense of humor?
I don't support or villainize Kanye because I don't understand what it is we want from him.
They blame it on the truck driver and said that Kim had no knowledge of any of this. Now what if the people just backdoor her and was just doing this behind her back?
A truck pulls into the Port of Harwich in England, carrying 28 pallets of shapewear. Routine stops, except when border officers run the X-ray. Something doesn't look right inside the trailer doors. They dig deeper, and what they find has nothing to do with leggings or loungewear. Nearly $10 million worth of narcotics packed into 90 individually wrapped bundles, tucked into a hidden compartment that had been specially built into the vehicle. The brand whose name was on those pallets? Skims. Kim Kardashian's $5 billion company. Now, Skims was cleared. The driver took the fall and got 13 years. No charges were filed against Kim or the brand, but the story didn't stop there, because around the same time this news broke, her ex-husband Kanye West was once again making noise. The things he has been saying over the past couple of years, some of it unhinged and surprisingly specific, have people going back and asking a question that nobody in mainstream media seems to want to sit with. What did Kanye actually see from the inside?
Had a lot of business ventures before Skims, still has a bunch of other business ventures, but the Kardashians and Jenners have tried all sorts of stuff. They've been trying to break into skincare for a long time and do all sorts of stuff. So this is definitely the family's biggest hit, and it's definitely Kim's, the vast majority of her net worth is definitely going to be in Skims. So like I said, she owns around a third of the company, and it's, the vast majority of her wealth.
Let's talk about that a little more, because the family, Kim included, has had their hand in a host of different businesses. Aside from reality TV, she worked on a mobile game, fragrance line, beauty line, amongst other things, but Skims is the one that really seems to have taken off into a league of its own. So can you run us through the history of the company and any highlights that you found interesting?
She co-founded this company in 2018 with a couple entrepreneurs, Emma Greed and this guy Jens Greed, who is the CEO now. And they really found an interesting, niche, which is, shapewear sort of with Kim's vibe, and Kim's aesthetic. And so, over the years, it's sort of been just this slow building, but sort of runaway success. It's definitely the most successful business of the Kardashian-Jenner family. And, as she's sort of had to figure out, she's had a couple beauty businesses. She had KKW Beauty. She shut that down, turned that into Skin by Kim's. Shut that down. She sort of reformulated stuff a bunch of times and tried to figure out what's right. And all while doing that, Skims has kind of just continued to be, a success. And so they've been raising more and more money and at higher valuations.
And to your point you made earlier that this is Kim's vibe, it really seems like it is. It has a really cool vibe. There's smart partnerships, like with the Olympics. In their marketing campaigns, those are also very strategic. They pick celebrities or athletes or pop stars that really meet the moment at exactly that moment. It seems to have paid off for them, obviously, now that the company is valued at $5 billion. Has Kim said exactly what she envisions the future of the company to be, fresh off this really successful fundraising round?
Yeah, it's really interesting because they started out as a direct-to-consumer, online-only brand, and then they've sort of moved into brick and mortar retail, and building physical stores. And they've got 18 of them around the US, a couple more in Mexico. And not just, they built a big flagship in New York City, but, they're, I think, in Minnesota and, all throughout the United States. And they're using this money that they raised to build even more brick and mortar stores. And so at a time where, all this talk for a long time now of, companies going online and getting rid of their stores, they have this vision for doing a lot more brick and mortar. And so they said that within a few years, they're hoping that it's predominantly a physical retail brand.
By 2025, Forbes had her net worth sitting at around $1.9 billion. Skims alone is valued at $5 billion after pulling in a $225 million funding round. She has a beauty line, a private equity firm called SKKY Partners, a television franchise that has been running for nearly 2 decades, and a social media presence that brands will pay almost anything to be a part of. Kim didn't just stumble into this. She built it with real strategic intelligence, like the way she navigated the collapse of KKW Beauty into SKKN, then pivoted again towards Skims Beauty and structured her equity deals. The way she has consistently managed to stay culturally relevant through multiple news cycles that would have buried anyone else, you have to give credit where it's due.
Kim Kardashian's a co-founder and the chief creative officer of Skims. How hands-on is she?
Yeah, I mean, she calls it her day job, and I think that's probably true. She talks about how she's super involved in, all of the product, all of the design, and then also all of the marketing, which, makes sense if you have a company, where Kim Kardashian is involved. I think you probably want her in charge of the marketing.
Large empires cast large shadows, and the bigger you get, the more exposure you have. Your supply chains become complicated. Logistics involve dozens of third parties you've never personally vetted. Brand name is on trucks moving through ports in foreign countries, driven by people you've never met, coordinated by freight companies with their own histories. The Skims shipment story is a case study in exactly that kind of exposure, and it opened a door that people with long memories walked straight through. That being said, if you've been following Kanye over the last few years, you already know the pattern. A social media post here, a rant there, something that gets people talking, then a deletion or a denial, then another wave. It's exhausting to track, but there are specific claims that keep coming back around, and they're worth looking at on their own terms, rather than just dismissing the whole thing because the messenger has obvious credibility problems.
Let's look at these contracts. Let's make it not be a known fact that the music industry is treacherous. Let's make because some of my kids do music. I don't want them to step into a treacherous place. I want it to be better for them than it was for me. So I want us to sit down and come together and really work on that. Would that make sense to you, Pierce?
You know what, Ye? If you'd simply said that in your tweet, I don't think there would have been any problem. And I'm very, very pleased, actually, that we've got to a place where you felt able to say that. And I think it was sincere.
But we still have a problem. That's my point.
No,
Pierce.
I get it. But what you've now done, you've now explained the context of the problem. And you also issued a sincere apology to people who were rightly offended by the way you phrased what you said. So I think that's a good place to finish the interview. And I'm very glad you got there.
Okay, but it's not finished.
I understand.
The idea is not finished.
I understand.
That there's still a problem.
I understand. No one's going to be in any doubt there's a problem. And by the way, I'm sure there is. I'm sure that a lot of the contracts in the music business are rigged against people like artists like yourself. I'm sure of it. I mean, it's always been the case from Elvis onwards. So I get
Pierce,
it.
Would you help me and my people? Would you help me and my athletes? I got so many athletes that go to my school that are like all the guys that are on Donda are headed to the NBA, right? Could you help me? Could you help us make these contracts better for our people by calling attention, by just allowing me on your platform, right? And let's look at some of the things and point these things out. Could we work together on
Absolutely
that over the next
happy
couple of years?
Very happy to do that.
Yeah.
Very happy to do that. I think we should talk more often.
All right.
It's taken a long time to get here. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. It's been 2 hours. It's been free rolling. It's been occasionally challenging, but we've got to a place where I think is a good place, and I've really enjoyed it. So thank you very much indeed, Ye, for sparing me the time.
Yeah. You know, I'm gonna feel like I lost my stone I was holding.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had to give it up to God. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
You're gonna be bragging. You're gonna be bragging at dinner tonight, like, yo, I talked to Ye. No one could do it. No one could do it. I did it. And I'm giving you this, and I'm gonna pray that you, as a fellow believer in Christ, will help me to expose all the wrong that's still currently happening to my people, specifically in the entertainment industry.
In 2024, a former member of Kanye's team filed a lawsuit in Los Angeles that included some notable details. According to the court documents, Kanye had tasked this person with investigating the Kardashian family over alleged connections to criminal enterprises. The lawsuit described these as instructions that came directly from Ye himself. Now, Kanye filing a lawsuit or being named in one is basically a monthly occurrence at this point, but this particular filing was different because it wasn't just about Kanye's personal behavior. It was about what he allegedly believed and, more importantly, what he was allegedly trying to prove. Around the same period, Kanye was making posts on social media that accused Kim and her family of being involved in networks that exploit children and young people. He tied some of these claims to his concerns about who their daughter North was being exposed to, including his decision to invite Andrew and Tristan Tate to a meeting with her, which Kim abruptly ended. Those claims from Kanye were explosive, widely covered, and by most accounts completely unsupported by any evidence, but they kept getting louder.
He's doing this to himself.
But it affects my kids.
Of course it does. That's the tragic part of the whole story.
Just like I still feel the need to not talk about it and protect it for my kids, and I always will feel that way, but God, if people knew, I just would never do that to my kids. It just is really crazy.
The hardest feeling to watch someone you really loved and you have a family with just be so different than who you knew. I mean, imagine trying to explain this to a 9-year-old at this point, North, who I'm sure is hearing something, and maybe she won't say it. That's what breaks my heart.
She actually doesn't know. And that's what's so crazy.
Really?
Is when stuff is said, it's a chain to my whole household. No TV, only Apple TV. I can't risk a Access Hollywood
Or a
coming up
news story.
next, or anything on the news.
On September 5th, 2025, a truck arrives on a ferry from the Netherlands. 28 pallets of legitimate Skims merchandise, confirmed by investigators to be real products going through real channels. The driver is a Polish national named Jakub Jan Konkel, and Border Force runs an X-ray. The scanner picks up structural irregularities in the rear trailer doors, not in the cargo, but in the doors. The vehicle had been physically modified to contain a hidden compartment. Inside that compartment were 90 kilogram-sized packages of a controlled substance, each one roughly 2 pounds. Total street value estimated between $8.4 and $9.6 million, depending on the report you're reading. During the investigation, GPS and travel data revealed a 16-minute stop that hadn't been logged anywhere. Prosecutors argued that's when the hidden compartment was loaded. Konkel initially denied everything, but then admitted he agreed to move the shipment for 4,500 euros. He was sentenced to 13 years and 6 months at Chelmsford Crown Court.
A British court, guys, in London has officially sentenced a truck driver to prison because he was caught smuggling £7 million, which is $9.4 million, worth of a substance, an illegal substance, which is basically coke, in a shipment of Skims. Now, it is interesting that Kim is not being dragged into this court case, because you would have thought so, but you're telling me that £7 million, $9.9 million worth of coke was all packaged neatly into Skim products, and then this particular person was caught. They always seem to be a close radar to everything. They're always at the wrong place at the wrong time, but it's not them at the wrong place at the wrong time. It's somebody that's basically in some kind of third-degree connection. Now, if you're going to transport substances and get paid for it, the con of this is that if you get caught, only you're going to go down. Unless, you sign some plea deal and etc., because they want to get the people on top, whatever, which I don't think is ever going to happen to the Kardashian clan. But the con of doing all of that is that you're going to go down if you get caught, nobody else, because they don't give a damn about anybody else simply but you. This is how, I'm not saying that Skims is not successful. I think that her brands are definitely successful and they are making a lot of money. But this is how you can move a lot of money, by transporting a lot of substances. Drug trafficking is basically what they call it. And this has gotten Skims written all over it, literally. You can see in the packaging here, it's also packaged so well. You're really going to tell me that the substances were just put into Skims without anybody knowledge higher up at Skims? This is so bad for the brand. And the article is now everywhere. And I definitely believe that Kim and the clan are 100% affiliated to the transportation of these substances. JP Morgan, for goodness sake, have gone through the ringer for what they've basically been accused of when it comes to transporting so many substances. People think that the transportation of these illegal substances only happens with minuscule companies, minuscule agencies, minuscule mafias, gangsters, people on the road. No, it happens high up in the corporate world. That's why you have a lot of corporate people who work there taking all of this stuff. It transports massively amongst huge companies, and I think that Skims is possibly one of them. You know, the entities and the companies that the Kardashians create, which is so many at this point, every single damn year there's something else opening up. You're really going to sit here and tell me that these companies are only going to be selling clothes? That is the only motive. Whatever they're selling is only what they're selling, and that's it. They're not actually sitting here transporting stuff behind the scenes through stuff to either wash money or create a lot more. You're telling me, hold on, this is a lot of coke that was basically being transported, guys. It wasn't just a random small amount that he was caught with. 90 kilograms. 90 kilograms, 198 pounds. I weigh 80 kilograms, okay? That's like 188 pounds is what I weigh. Like, you're really gonna sit and tell me that amount was sitting in the truck and that was all lined up within the clothing of Skims? It was all within the clothing. It wasn't as if it was completely separate of the packaging. But the agency, you know, which the National Crime Agency were very quick to say that, you know, Skims was not involved or connected to this smuggled load. Okay. This was a mistake that went wrong, and that when you have these big companies basically doing this stuff, they probably have some type of leniency where they don't get caught, and here things just went wrong. This is like a blip in the system, and I think that this is affiliated to Kim's leverage in specific spaces that she is now in, that she couldn't get into anymore because Kanye is not her husband and Kanye was getting into everything.
Skims released a statement saying the company had absolutely no knowledge of or connection to the smuggling operation, and that the driver had no relationship with the brand. UK investigators did not accuse Kim or Skims of any wrongdoing. The National Crime Agency attributed this to organized freight networks that routinely piggyback on legitimate commercial shipments because the branding provides cover. So, to be clear, nobody charged Kim with anything, but the incident pulled her name into a conversation she very much did not want to be in. In the weeks following the Skims story breaking publicly, reports came out that Kanye and Kim had actually met in private at a secure location away from cameras and staff. According to sources who spoke to Sunday Guardian Live in May 2026, Kim was visibly distressed during the encounter. She reportedly told Kanye that she believed she had been framed or set up, that whoever was behind what happened with that shipment had used her brand deliberately to cause damage. These are anonymous sources describing a private meeting between two people who have one of the most complicated and publicly volatile relationships in entertainment history. But here's what's interesting about it. If the story has any truth to it at all, it suggests something as Kim herself felt the incident was not random, that being used as cover by an organized criminal network was not a coincidence.
If the P. Diddy file and the Epstein files, the P. Diddy court trial and the Epstein files, which we all read and discussed over here, if you're still naive after that, then I don't know what to tell you. There's so much corruption happening, so many people are involved, and when the going gets tough, everybody wants to be quiet. You ain't gonna get no statement from Kim, you ain't gonna get no statement from Skims, because they're gonna be like, this ain't got to do with us. This ain't got nothing to do with us. You're telling me this man worked independently for a specific group of people and that he was getting paid money from them and therefore he decided to put it in the Skims? 13 years and a half he's gone to prison for. 13 years and a half. Probably will get out on 10 years with good behavior. That's why you're in prison. It ain't looking too good, guys. I do think that Kim's relation to freeing these, prisoners and posting bail for them and wanting to be a hero for them and writing statements for them, she's only allowed to do that. Okay, this pivot that she's made into freeing prisoners, whether they've been illegally put away or not, she's only recently been doing this for the past half a decade because she's been allowed to. People have been allowing her to play this political hero where she can use her money to free these people, because I just don't think, I think it's like a business deal. And at the end package also, there's great PR for her, because I don't think that, Kim can just walk into places and do all of this without it benefiting her, without secret deals basically being made. 8 million euros worth of
If you're Kanye West, who has been saying for years that the world Kim moves in is not what it appears to be, a phone call or a private meeting where your ex-wife is telling you she thinks she was set up is going to feel like confirmation of something, whether or not it actually is. The gap between feeling confirmed and being correct is enormous, but it doesn't stop someone like Kanye from treating one as the other, and it doesn't stop the internet from treating his reaction as evidence of something bigger than it might actually be. Something worth noting about the way Kanye operates is that his accusations tend to follow a certain pattern. He starts with something personal, a custody dispute, a disagreement about the kids' school, frustration about not having access. Then it escalates into something systemic, like the school is fake and the system is rigged. The family is connected to something criminal, and then it goes all the way into territory that involves networks and elites and files that the public isn't supposed to see.
This is not a joke. Kanye West was mentioned in the Epstein files. The Epstein files now coming out, it has just been revealed that Kanye West was mentioned 2 different times in the Epstein files, but in a positive way. Now, the first mention of Kanye West in the Epstein files is when a close friend of Epstein ended up emailing him saying that he was teaching a psychiatry class, with them using Kanye West as a perfect example to show somebody on the bipolar spectrum, but being able to have an amazing flight of ideas. As you can see right here, this is the specific email with it saying, "Did you see Kanye West's soliloquy in the Oval Office with Trump and Jim Brown? I'm using this clip in my talent and creativity class." And then as for Jeffrey Epstein himself, he might have been a massive Kanye West fan, because in an email that he made on May 10th, 2011 to a person, he ended up randomly bringing up Kanye West's song Power, with him saying, "It's interesting that we're talking about power. Have you heard Kanye West's rap song Power? Some funny lyrics that might resonate." Nonetheless though, what do you have to my entire situation? Kanye West was mentioned in the Epstein files 2 times, but in a very positive way, showing that he is the literal GOAT.
He's done this repeatedly as he talked about the you-know-what files and implied connections to people in that network. He demanded Kim remove their children from Sierra Canyon School, calling it a place where celebrities are controlled by the system. He accused her publicly of involvement in the exploitation of Black children, framing it as part of a broader coordinated effort. He hired investigators, or at least allegedly directed someone to investigate, claiming she accused him of ordering violence against her during their divorce proceedings.
Kanye West responded to Pusha T being on the Epstein files last night during his massive concert in New Mexico. As you guys just saw last night, Kanye West did the unthinkable by responding to Pusha T after he was revealed to be on the Epstein files. And now for those of you guys that are simply confused or don't know what's going on, last night it was officially revealed that Pusha T was in the Epstein files hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein and a young woman. And with all of this coming out, Kanye West seemingly responded to Pusha T being on the Epstein files, with him doing his concert last night where he was performing the song Runaway, and then right when Pusha T's verse came on, he immediately skipped it. And this is leading a lot of people to believe that this was a direct reaction to Pusha T being on the Epstein files, along with Pusha T dissing Kanye West nonstop last year. For example, when he was on interviews saying things like Kanye West isn't a real man. Nonetheless though, what do you guys my entire situation? Kanye West seemingly threw a shot and responded to Pusha T after he was revealed to be in the Epstein files.
What you end up with is a man who was genuinely inside this world for almost a decade, who attended those events, knew those people, sat in those rooms, and who is now on the outside looking back at it with a combination of real grievances about co-parenting, genuine mental health struggles that are well documented, anti-Semitic beliefs that have been confirmed by multiple former employees through lawsuits, and what appears to be a sincere belief that the people around him were involved in something deeply wrong. Separating those threads is not easy, but it has to be done. The responsible thing to do here, and not enough people are doing it, is to be specific about what is documented and what is not. What is documented are the Skims shipment, the sentencing of the driver, the UK National Crime Agency's findings, Skims being cleared of wrongdoing, Kanye's lawsuit history, the claims made by former employees about his behavior and his beliefs. Along with that, Kim's emotional response to his accusation that she faked the Paris robbery, which she addressed on camera in December 2025.
I was laying in bed like, should I wash my face? I'm so tired, I'm in my robe, I need to get up, I need to wash my face. And then 10 minutes later, I was like dozing, and then I heard pounding up the stairs. And I thought it was you and Stephanie drunk. I'm calling to them like, hello, 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 and there's no answer. And then at that moment, when there wasn't an answer, my heart started to get really tense. Like, you know, your stomach just kind of like knots up and you're like, okay, what's going on? What's going on? I knew something wasn't quite right. My door was open like this, and then I saw two guys holding another guy down in police uniforms, but right outside of my bedroom, 5 feet away. So I slid off my bed and picked up my phone, and I'm like, I don't know how to call 911 in a different country. And so I like called Pascal, and then the guy came and grabbed the phone from me, threw me on the bed, and I was like, this is it. Then the concierge that I realized was the concierge because he was handcuffed with the key to my room. What I've heard from talking to him afterwards is they said, you know, where's the rapper's wife? Like, led us up to her room in French. So he ended up being our interpreter because I couldn't understand them, they couldn't understand me. Right as I was about to fall asleep, I heard guys running up the stairs. They wanted my ring and my jewelry, so I didn't fight back. I just gave them everything, and they tied me up. They wrapped duct tape over my eyes and my mouth. It was the scariest thing I've ever been through in my entire life, just thinking that, you know, you're about to die. You're just kind of bracing yourself for the moment that they're gonna shoot you and kill you. That 10 minutes really changed my whole life.
The robbers escaped with a huge diamond ring worth approximately $4 million. Kim was left, still bound by duct tape and plastic restraints. Eventually, she managed to free herself and make contact with her sister Courtney.
Kim called me screaming. I'm gonna try not to cry. That I can't even talk about it. I'm sorry. She called me and my legs like went out. I remember I like fell to the floor. Kim was really, really shaken up. We just did all the work that she had to do with the police and got out of there.
That moment, it's truly the scariest experience. It's like, you can't even describe how scary it is.
Are you okay? Kim?
There are a lot of thoughts running through my head related to that time, and I don't like to watch those movies. Memories are movies in your mind. I like to watch the happy ones. I don't search for the bad.
In the aftermath of Kim's nightmare in Paris, there were skeptics who suspected the robbery was a hoax.
People like Howard Stern said that I should go to jail if this is fake.
Some people thought that she was flaunting it.
You cannot display your wealth and then be surprised that some people want to share it with you.
She was all over social media wearing millions of dollars of jewels, but this wasn't a joke. This was a terrifying, life-changing moment.
3 months after the robbery, French police arrested 17 suspects believed to be connected to the crime. 10 of those suspects were later indicted.
It makes me so upset to think about it, but like either they're gonna shoot me in the back, or if I make it and they don't, there's no way out.
What is not documented are any connection between Kim Kardashian personally and organized criminal activity, any connection between the Kardashian family and the networks Kanye has described, and any evidence beyond Kanye's word that the investigations he allegedly commissioned turned up anything actionable. Here's why this still matters, though. Large platforms, particularly social media, and certain YouTube channels have a financial incentive to collapse the distance between a documented incident and an unproven allegation. The Skims story is real. Kanye's claims are real in the sense that he made them, but putting them in the same sentence without being extremely careful about what you're implying is how false narratives become conventional wisdom. Once something is repeated enough times, the source gets forgotten and the claim takes on a life of its own. What the Skims incident actually revealed was how vulnerable any major brand is when its supply chain runs through foreign freight networks. Step back from the specific people for a second and look at the landscape. We are living through a moment where the public's trust in celebrities, institutions, and mainstream narratives is at an all-time low. People are more willing than ever to believe that what they see on the surface is a performance covering something darker, and that instinct is not entirely wrong. There are documented cases in Hollywood and beyond where powerful people have used their status to insulate themselves from accountability. The challenge is that this environment also makes people susceptible to believing accusations that are not substantiated, because the general feeling is that powerful people always get away with things. So if someone is making accusations loudly enough, and if there's even one factual incident that can be pointed to as supporting evidence, the accusation starts to feel credible, even when the evidence doesn't actually connect.
You know, Kanye's name was mentioned the day before that, when the witness, Jane, was telling a story in which Puff had, I think he had attacked her at one time. He got mad and got upset with her. I think he may have put her in a chokehold or something, when he found out that she went to one of the freak-offs. But they said that it was a rapper who was married, and everybody, all the information that came out, it was pointing to Kanye West. And then it so happened the next day he comes up there. This is the same guy that got on, and I don't want to blow nobody else's platforms up, got on Drink Champs about a year or so ago, before Diddy was arrested, talking about Diddy was a fed, you understand? F Diddy and all this other stuff like that. And then he talked all kind of crazy about Diddy. And that's how these dudes in this industry do, man. They ain't got no loyalty to themselves, bro. So by him going on that, and now they say him and Diddy made amends and stuff like that. Remember he, I think he did a t-shirt, a shirt or something to say free Puff and all this other stuff. So Kanye is on he's looking for the attention, and for him to be mentioned in the trial, and they didn't let it go through, because the reason they didn't let it go through is because they said it wasn't pertinent to the charges that Puff was facing. So what happened, Jane went to Vegas, and she was invited by allegedly Kanye West and his wife and them and everything like that. And they went to plays, they went to show, they went out to eat and everything. And then later on that night, they went to a hotel room, whereas there was some other couples in there too and some other people. And there wasn't a freak off, but it was one of the guys who does the freak off with her there, and they were all sitting around watching and drinking while this guy was having with another worker or whatever like that, and while all of them just watching him have and stuff. I guess it's some rich people industry that they do, but they were just sitting around watching this dude have a live section right there in front of them. You know what I'm saying? So she started talking about that incident in court, and that's how Kanye West's name came up, and which they didn't say his name, but they said his name because it was an objection done. You know how they do, objection, overrule, all this other stuff like that. So they said it was a rapper who's married. They gave a description of it, and it pointed straight to Kanye. And then it so happened the next day he goes up in the courtroom with Diddy and them son. That's just crazy, bro. It seemed like that, to me, if Kanye West is paying workers to have in front of him and his friends, ain't that trafficking?
Kanye West is someone who clearly had an intimate view of a world that most of us will never see. He was in the inner circle and was at the events. He was in the marriages, the friendships, the professional alliances. Whether what he is saying reflects something real that he witnessed or whether it reflects the deterioration of a brilliant mind that has been under enormous pressure for years, or some complicated mix of both is genuinely hard to know. What's easy to know is that the noise he generates lands on a world that is primed to believe the worst, and that's a dangerous combination, whatever the truth turns out to be.
There have been reports, Ye, that you and Kim don't really talk at the moment. She's distancing herself from you because of the stuff you've been saying must get in controversy. Is that true?
I mean, John Legend is distancing himself from me and buying more Christmas sweaters in the middle of spring also. So I'm not saying that, they're making the right decisions. She's being influenced, but I guarantee you what's not finna happen, we not finna see her in one of them John Legend Christmas sweaters no time soon.
But do you talk to her? Are you still in touch with each other?
Wait, so don't you think it's like funny to like make a joke out of stuff sometimes? Don't you think like God has a sense of humor?
Of course.
But watch this. God, when I got married, I bought this house. I did this tour and spent all the money I had on this house to like surprise Kim and give her this house that she wanted, that Lisa Marie Presley used to own. And then I got the house, and then I put all this money into renovation. And then there goes the neighborhood. Drake moves down the street 5 blocks, and that's when I knew God was funny. But watch, this is where God is even funnier. Here goes like Louis C.K. Part 2 level, because Louis C.K. is the funniest man alive. Uncancel him now, right? And he was funnier before he's canceled because all he would do is type of jokes that you get canceled on, right? I got an office and outside of Crenshaw, like in an opportunity zone, and this office, 57,000 square foot office, is the one that Tucker Carlson came to visit me at. And I look out the window, and whose office is being built? A brand new one. The Skims office. It's like, who's writing this stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like, God is funny. So that's the thing. We always gotta be like, we gotta be funny. We gotta have a sense of humor, like,
But yeah, let me ask you.
There's a lot. Yeah.
But are you sad that you're getting divorced? Are you sad the relationship came to an end?
That happened 2 years. We got the divorce 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're.
Are you actually?
We've been got divorced. What are you talking?
Yeah. I mean, let me rephrase that. Are you sad that you're no longer together? That you're divorced?
We'll always be together. She dresses exactly like me. What do you mean? Like, my kids are me. There's no person that you'll ever get with that will influence her more than God and then her priest on earth, which is me.
So where does this leave us? A shipment with a famous brand's name on it, a cleared company, a sentenced driver, and an ex-husband who has been making claims about that same famous brand and the family behind it for years. None of it connects neatly. None of it is a smoking gun. And that's the honest answer, even though it's not the satisfying one. What you can say with confidence is this: Kim Kardashian has built something genuinely remarkable, and the scale of that thing comes with the kind of exposure that makes incidents like the Harwich seizure inevitable rather than exceptional. Legitimate brands get used by organized criminal networks all the time, precisely because legitimacy is valuable cover. Kanye West has real grievances about custody and co-parenting that have been swallowed by increasingly unhinged public behavior, and the internet has a very hard time holding both of those things at once. The question that probably deserves more serious attention than it's getting isn't whether Kim is guilty of anything. It's whether the systems that move goods, money, and influence at this scale are transparent enough for anyone, including the people at the top of those systems, to actually know what's being done in their name. Do you think they do? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you liked this video, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on any new videos. And until then, fam, keep it real.